Hey guys, this is going to be my spoiler-filled review of Deadpool, the new Marvel movie starring Ryan Reynolds, Miranda Backer, and TJ Miller and Gina Carano. Now, this is spoilers. This is basically just going to give away like most of, talk about some of the jokes and more of the plot of the movie, which is Wade Wilson plays this mercenary who, as he describes it, is a bad guy who goes after worse people, and he falls in love with it, and he frequents this. He basically goes to this bar where he'll get something like drinks called like a blow. Do things like get drinks called a blow job. Send it over to a guy. Send it over to a biker guy. It looks like he's from ZZ Tops, and then say it's from another black guy, and so it starts like a bar fight. So people could put money on the Deadpool, which is who's gonna die in the bar fight. And during that time, he meets a stripper named Vanessa, who's basically just has the same acerbic kind of wit that Wade has. And there's one of the ZZ Top like biker guys like slaps Vanessa in the ass, and Wade's about to rough him up, but then of course there's this moment where he starts like grabbing, where it's like Vanessa grabs him by the testicles and just starts calling him like Fat Gandalf, and to start apologizing, and they have this thing going back and forth where it's like, Wade says like I was molested by my uncle. Then it's just like I was molested by uncles. They took turns. It's like I celebrated my own birthday locked inside a closet when I go and look out through the keyhole. Vanessa's like I was stuck inside a dishwasher, and it's like, and Wade's like, oh my god, you had a dishwasher? I don't know if they're just like being serious or witty, and he was like, hey, what's gonna $275 and a free yogurt coupon gonna get me? And she goes, 48 minutes to do whatever you want. And they end up going to like an arcade, like throwing balls into what they call balls into the hole. And they also, and then balls into the hole, and it's like, what's the yogurt coupon gonna get me? Like 2 and 3 more minutes. And Wade goes, what's gonna get me in that? Can I get in that time? And then of course there's this whole like graphic sex scene. It's like, how much can you keep this up over for a year? And it's like this montage of sex scenes during different holidays, where and I guess like Chinese New Year, and I guess there's one where I guess Wade's getting like, I guess like Vanessa like fucks Wade in the ass with a dildo. I think with a dildo, it's like pegging, and then Wade's eating her out with like vampire teeth of Halloween, and then of course there's this scene where he gives her like a ring pop to propose to her, and there's a scene like, where are you hiding? And she thought she was gonna ask him to backdoor her, and she asked, oh, Jinx, where are you hiding that before? And he was like, nowhere. And then of course there's this butt shot of Ryan Reynolds. And then after all that, of course, he finds out about his diagnosis about the cancer, and she doesn't want him. Wade decides to leave her because he doesn't want Vanessa to watch him suffer and die. And of course he gets recruited by a guy who he refers to as Agent Smith, and makes jokes about how, hey, we're within like 500 feet of a school. I don't think, just FYI, we're within like 500 feet of a school, and it's just not schools, so you better want to like watch out. And how he's gonna like be careful, like looks like he's gonna lure somebody into a van. And when he gives this whole speech about how he can make Wade into a superhero, he just says, oh, you kind of sound like an infomercial. Not like a good one, like Slap Chop, more like a Shake Weighty. and turns him down initially, but then he decides to go into the program. And that's when he makes the joke about, please don't make the super suit green or animated. And he's injected with serum that's supposed to unlock a mutant gene through torture. In response to torture, and the point was even put in a hyperbaric chamber just for like running his mouth off to both Gina Carano, who plays Angel Dust, and Ajax, who's known as who he refers to as Francis, and apparently it's a pet peeve of his to be referred to by his real name. And so after all the torture, Wade becomes deformed, he gets his healing factor, he uses a match to blow up the hyperbaric chamber in the lab, and he's presumed dead in the lab explosion after a fight with Ajax. But then he decides to go, and he wants to go confront Vanessa, but because of all the looks he gets from his appearance, he decides to just he decides not to approach her, and of course it leads to going up confronting Wade Wilson, and Wade confronts Weasel and how and that's when they have the whole jabs about how he looks like an avocado, had sex with an older avocado, it was like a hate fuck, and like a hate fucked an older avocado, and how like Freddy Krueger face fucked a topographical map of Utah. And they have this and they kind of come up with the nicknames he should go by, like and like how he should be in his own horror, and how Wade should be in his own horror movies. And deciding to get revenge, he decides to come up with the name Captain Deadpool. And Weasel gives him a look where Wade's just like, you know what, Deadpool works. So there's this montage where he goes on a hunt trying to find Ajax, which eventually leads to the highway chase scene, and he talks to the audience and faces them saying, "Oh, hey, hello. I bet you're wondering how somebody like me was able to get whose balls I had to cradle to get my own movie. But here's a clue. His name rhymes with Pulverine." And then of course there's the whole he drops into the SUV and he's beating the crap out of everybody and putting the cigarette lighter in the guy's mouth and says, "I don't normally say this, but don't swallow." And you can tell this is freeze frame. The SUV's flipping over. He's giving a guy a wedgie. He's kicked somebody in, and somebody's facing against the driver's side door, and of course that's when they have the opening probably one of the funniest opening credits I've seen, where it just says produced by some asshats, starring a douchebag, hot chick, British villain. It even has a magazine with Ryan Reynolds, Sexiest Man Alive, featured in it. CGI character, gratuitous cameo, emo chick, emo teen. And it even leads to and even after that whole shootout, it leads to when Wade's pissed at Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead let them get away. He starts punching him. He starts punching him in the balls, and even Wade makes a wisecrack, even though he breaks his hand. "Oh my God, your wife! Oh, your poor wife!" And he starts breaking his hand, his hands, his legs, and he starts hopping around on one leg. It reminded me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail scene with the Black Knight. And eventually, he's about to be taken away back to the Xavier School of Mutants, and he asks, "Which Professor X, McAvoy or Stewart?" And then he cuts off his, "Hey guys ever," and he goes, "Hey guys ever seen 127 Hours? Spoilers!" And he cuts off his own hand to escape from Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who of course is the emo teen they refer to, who's pretty also about as snarky as Wade, and who Wade says she looks like Sinead O'Connor, which she really does. And you also talk about what's wrong. And I guess before they even take off in the X-Jet to go get Deadpool, Colossus asks her, "What's wrong with being an X-Men? What's the downside of being an X-Men?" She says, "I don't know, funny leotards, school gets blown up every few years." And eventually it goes back to, you go to Blind. He's living in a crack house with Blind Al and making jokes about her addiction to cocaine and um, of course her blindness. I guess it really doesn't have. I mean, I guess it's kind of like a mother son thing. I don't know if it's just. I mean, it's supposed to be that way in the comics. I never read any Deadpool comics that featured Blind Al, so I can't say. But it does feature. But eventually, when Vanessa gets kidnapped by Ajax and Angel does to lure out Deadpool, he tries to get all of his weapons, and he rides in. There's a scene where he's like riding a taxi cab with. I guess after he goes over to the X Mansion, asking Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead for their help, because Weasel just basically says, "I'd go with you, but I don't want to." And before Deadpool leaves, he tells Blind Al, "If I don't make it back, I want you to know that I love you very much." Also, there's a 150-pound bag of cocaine next to the cure for blindness, and then leaves. And then it's like, and then when he's talking, and then he tells Negasonic Teenage Warhead, "I'll just wait out here in the house." He says, "It's a pretty big mansion. It's only, and it seems like only two of you here. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford an extra." And so, of course, they're like riding around the cab, and of course, there's like a cabbie he was featured in earlier in the movie and also in the trailers, and how and Deadpool convinced him to lock a romantic rival in the trunk, and Deadpool denies, like, "I never suggested such a thing," and he whispers, "I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you." So you're supposed to like use your charm and your wits to sweep the girl of your dreams off of her feet. Kidnapping. And he says, and then of course when he drops them off at the location of where Ajax is located, which kind of looks like a helicarrier from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Coincidentally, and then they have this whole montage where the slow walk montage, and he realizes he's forgot his ammo bag, which is like a running gag in the movie, and he tries to call back the cabbie, but he gets rear-ended, and the guy he has trapped in his trunk that he's supposed to murder is, calling out for help, so he knows he can't rely on him. And so there's like a whole like battle royale with Deadpool, Colossus, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead going up against these like mercenaries and Ajax. And I love how he like used the dead bodies to like spell out Francis's name, and how one of them I think included I don't remember if it was like Al, Agent of Hydra. Of course, they can't reference Hydra, but they have some really cool action scenes where it's like Deadpool decapitates one gunman and then kicks his head towards another one, and throwing knives at their heads, and it's basically just if you read a Deadpool comic, it's just as gory as you expected it to be. And of course, he puts Vanessa in the hyperbaric chamber, intending to torture her, and you would think like, oh, this is going to transform her into Copycat because that's who she is in the comic books. Who has the ability to shapeshift like Mystique, but she can shapeshift even at the molecular level to the point where she can even like copy other people's powers. So it's like a combination of like Mystique's and Rogue. So it's like a combination of Mystique's and Rogue's powers that without having to touch somebody to get their powers. That doesn't quite happen because Deadpool throws one of his katana is at the hyperbaric chamber to stop her from suffocating, and she uses it to get free and stab Ajax. And there's this when Deadpool gets stabbed in the head, it's basically he starts seeing like cartoon birds and a unicorn. He makes a heart shape and also makes the symbol that he's gonna like wants to bang her, and she's still pissed at him for leaving even after he saved her life. At this point where at a point after the quote-unquote helicarrier or whatever is blown up by Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and right before that, he basically, Ajax tells him that tells Deadpool that he lied about being able to cure his disfigurement, and Deadpool's about to shoot him at point blank, and Colossus gives this speech where there are 4 out of 5 moments that make a hero, and sparing a person's life, showing compassion, and naturally it's Deadpool, so he listens to the speech before ignoring it completely, shooting Ajax in the head and then causing Colossus to vomit. And he actually had a really cool fight scene with Angel Dust, where the point where it's he's trying to be a gentle, where it's he doesn't want to hit a woman, but then Angel Dust starts beating him up, and then during their fight, her bra, her shirt comes off, but her breasts are obscured or blocked by Colossus's hands, and I don't know, people were laughing too hard. People were laughing so much in the theater, I wasn't sure what he said. That I think he made a comment, and she said thanks, and then Angel Dust punches him. But then, of course, the explosion incapacitates her, and I guess when Vanessa decides to take off Deadpool's mask after apologizing, and he professes his love for her, he still has a magazine cut out of Hugh Jackman, and then she has to take that off first, and and she says, what, after an adjustment period and a few tequilas, I love to sit on that face. And she literally has on his phone, Wham, I guess the music that was played during, I think it was Say Anything, the boombox scene from, I think it was Say Anything with John Cusack. I'm sorry, I'm not telling these, and I don't, it's not the same comedic timing. I don't have the same comedic timing with these jokes. I apologize, but yeah, those are some of the jokes that stood out to me that I remember hearing. That wasn't I couldn't hear over everybody's laughter, but it was. I love this movie. It was hysterical. I'm glad this finally got made. This was the Deadpool movie. Comic book fans deserved, and people even casual superhero movie fans should go out and see, because it is far from this typical superhero movie. It's more rude, crude, more acerbic, rude, crude. It's a quintessential Deadpool movie, and you guys would be crazy not to see it if you haven't. I mean, if you have seen it by now, what did you think? What were your favorite jokes? Leave it in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.